Hey, welcome back. And today's an interesting video because I want to talk about something that I've discovered. And, well, that's kind of what we do. A good horseman is an experimenter. We're always figuring stuff out. And, well, if you watched right at the beginning, at the very, very beginning in the intro, it says there is a better way. Let's find it. So that's what we did. And I'm going to talk about something today that we found. It's not necessarily a new thing, and it's not entirely new to me, although it's actually the first time I've tried it, and it does seem to work, so I thought I'd share it with you too. And it's called matching steps. Now, it goes by different names, but, and there's probably a few variations of how to do it, and I actually got my own too that I used, and, well, it seemed to work, so. Back up to why we ended up trying it was, well, that horse over there, you've seen her in some of my previous videos. It's that worried one I've been working with, and she has definitely made progress. There's no doubt about it. She has improved immensely, but we kind of got to this little impasse where we just couldn't seem to get to the next step, and I wasn't quite sure what to try. I'd tried quite a few different things, and just nothing seemed to quite work. Well, let me explain where we went with this one. Is started out at, well, she's a handful sometimes. Now, don't get me wrong, she's not aggressive or anything like that, but she can be dangerous in the sense that she gets so wound up and worried that she's oblivious to her handler, and if I wasn't paying attention, I could easily have gotten knocked over, stepped on, whatever. A lot of bad things could happen. When I let her loose in the indoor arena, she'd run around there in a panic, screaming for other horses. You know, not good at all. And so we worked on that, and we got her paying attention to me, and in the process, we taught her a lot of other things. I'm not going to bore you with all those details because this story's going to take a while as it is. But we finally got her focusing on me. And, well, that was good, because then we could start teaching her things, and the more she learned, the better she got. And there was this progress, very slow, but there was progress every day. And, you know, we kind of built a relationship during training by spending time with her and telling her what a good girl she is, and just, you know, going slow. And some days we wouldn't do a darn things but hang out with her, maybe brush her or something, you know, and kind of just gauge her behavior. Well, anyhow, we went from that to, well, she kind of started getting a little clingy, though. She wanted to be everywhere I was, had to be right beside me. She wasn't in my space. She was good that way. She wasn't in my space or anything, but she had to be right beside me all the time. Well, that was the point. We got to start teaching her to stand on her own. So that's what we did. We had her stand off by herself, but even at a distance, she always had to be facing me. She just wasn't happy with not keeping an eye on me, so, well, we continued to work on things, and finally, you know, she wouldn't even let me walk behind her without spinning around and looking at me. Finally, we got to the point where we could actually walk around her, and then we just kept making those circles bigger and bigger. And, well, then we brought her out here because the outdoor arena here is a little bigger. Actually, it's almost twice the size, I think, of the indoor one. And, well, you probably can't see too good for the tractor sitting here, but there's another fence a couple 100 feet away maybe. And we finally got to the point where I could get her to stay at that fence while I came right down to this end. So we're basically as far apart as possible in here. And it wasn't a problem, but the minute I stepped through this fence, we had a problem. Well, that's the only time we had a problem, was when I was on the opposite side of the fence. And I was like getting a little frustrated. You know, there was just this bit of angst in her still that, you know, she did not like to be entirely on her own. Once I was on the other side of that fence, if I was, you know, right up at the fence, she didn't have a problem. But as soon as I got a little ways away from the fence, kind of like I am right now, she had a problem. She'd start pacing up and down the fence here and stop at the gate and paw there for a while. She wasn't happy, and I kind of got stopped. I didn't know what else to try. I'd tried quite a few things. It didn't seem to be working. You know, it helped a tiny bit, but there was something else. We had to go to another level somehow. And I'd heard of this thing called matching steps. Now, I don't try everything I hear because sometimes I just think it's a little too far out there, maybe a bit flaky or something. But I started thinking about this one, and I thought, you know what? I don't see a downside to it. You know, the worst that could possibly happen is it's not going to work. Now I'm going to explain to you how it works, or theoretically anyhow. How it was explained to me, or my understanding of it is, you basically mirror what the horse does, and you generally do it reasonably close to the horse, not from this distance, and you know, as close as you can get, and the horse is still comfortable with your presence. And then if it moves the right foot, you move the right foot. It moves the left one, you move the left one, so on and so forth, forward, backward, whatever. So, well, I couldn't do it in close proximity to her because when I was close to her, there wasn't any problem. The problem only arose when I was out here, so I had to come up with my own little variation. And it's not exactly the way a lot of people teach it. And by the way, it goes by a few different names too, so, you know, matching steps is just one of them. Probably one of the better known ones, but anyhow, I came on this side of the fence, and sure enough, she started getting a little concerned when I got a little ways away from the fence, and about where I am now, the distance from that fence, she starts to get pretty concerned. So I started doing what is referred to as matching steps. She walked that way down the fence line, I walked that way down. If she went that way, I went that way. If she stopped at the gate and pawed, I'd paw. Probably looked pretty silly, but I did it. And after a while, she kind of paused and looked at me like, what the heck are you doing? And, well, you're supposed to match them step for step, but at this day, you're also supposed to be a lot closer. So like I said, I came up with my own variation. And as, like I've said in my demos before, this is what I'm doing with this particular horse in this particular situation. You might do it a little different, and that's okay. Whatever works, that's what you do. And well, this is what worked for me, so this is what I did. But it worked well enough, I thought I'd share it with you, because, well, the theory behind it, I should explain first, is if you do what the horse is doing, then the horse learns that you're paying attention. Now, I've often said many times, you got to pay attention to the horse. You got to be aware. You got to observe. You know, that's important stuff, always. But the horse has to know you're doing that. That makes a difference, and that's where this stuff comes in, because if you're walking with the horse, matching steps, all of a sudden the horse realizes, hey, this person is paying attention to me. They're aware of me. They're aware of my concerns and how I feel about things. And it's particularly, you know, I wouldn't recommend it for every horse. I don't think it's necessary. But if you got a horse that's particularly worried, anxiety, that type of stuff, it really helps build the relationship with them. It makes them feel a little more comfortable. And, you know, they realize, hey, this dude's paying attention. He's observing me, and he understands my emotional state. And then all of a sudden, they start feeling a little more relaxed and comfortable, especially around you, or even when you're not too close. It takes things to another level is what happens. And well, that's kind of what happened with her. She was pacing up and down the fence and stopping at the gate and pawing, and I just kept doing the same thing she's doing. And well, it's, like I said, it's not exactly the way that, you know, you'll teach it, because as you can see, you know, it's fair. You know, I'm a fair distance out from the fence, but that's how far I had to get before there was a problem. And so I did what was called matching steps. Only I didn't quite do it the way the book says to do it, because by the time I figured out whether I should be moving my left or right foot, she'd be 10 paces ahead of me already. So I just simply moved the same direction as her. She stopped, I stopped. She turned around, went back. I turned around, went back. She pawed, I pawed. Not identical to what she was doing, but pretty close. And it seemed to work because now, as usual, I don't time anything, so I don't know how long it took us. You know, maybe it was 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but after a period of time of doing this, all of a sudden, she got up to about there. She kind of looked over at me for a second and walked away to the other end and went to grazing on some grass down there. Didn't matter that I was on the other side of the fence anymore. And it took a while. She paced and pawed for, like I said, I don't know, somewhere between 15 minutes and half an hour. And then all of a sudden, it seemed to work. And, well, I'm on the other side of the fence. She's in there right now, and she's not crying for other horses or pacing. I only did it once. I kind of thought I'd have to do it again, but apparently not. And, like I said, it's not something, I don't think you'd have to do it with every horse, but if you got a problem horse that has anxiety, trust issues, stuff like that, yeah, it might be helpful. Give it a try. You got nothing to lose. Worst that happens is it just doesn't do anything. I don't see a downside to it. I don't think it's going to hurt the horse at all. As you can see, it didn't hurt her any, and she seems to be pretty content being over there by herself now. And we only did it once. I really truly expected I'd have to do it a few times. I've heard of other guys doing it for every day for a week before it actually worked. So, I guess we just got lucky. But, there's something you can try is the matching steps. Experiment a little, change it up a bit to make it work for you. And have some fun with it, and it might just make a difference. Now it's raining. Goodness. One tiny little cloud and it's freaking pouring. And windy as things are blowing around here. Oh, by the way, that's one of the reasons I'm wearing a coat today. It's not horribly cold, but that wind isn't nice, and I got my microphone tucked inside here to keep it out of the wind, so the wind noise won't be too bad. It's raining. I've got to get this camera inside. Bye.